Silent session, would everyone please rise?
No.
Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please stand for a moment of reflection for our troops abroad. Thank you. Would you please read the Open Public Meetings Act?
According to the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been given to the Daily Record. Notice has been posted in the Municipal Building, 204 Flanders Drakestown Road, Bud Lake, New Jersey, and notices were sent to those requesting the same. Roll call.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Ferrante,
Excused.
Mr. Nacastro,
Here.
Mr. Perkins.
Here.
Mr. Roman.
Here.
Mr. Stazak.
Here.
Mr. Mania.
Here.
Mrs. Laybow.
Excused. Okay, we have the approval of minutes. Mr. Perkins, would you approve the minutes of previous meetings, please?
I move for the approval of the minutes of the previous meetings, November 12, 2013, workshop and public meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Ferrante, Mr. Nacastro, Mr. Perkins, Mr.
Yes.
Roman,
Yes.
Mr. Stazak,
Yes.
Mr. Mania.
Yes.
Okay, we're on to correspondence.
We have 29 pieces of correspondence
Oh,
this
actually,
evening.
emergency.
Point of order?
Are we in the workshop?
We need to do the workshop
God.
meeting, guys.
He has me look.
From the wrong agenda.
I'm sorry.
I'm so confused tonight myself.
Okay.
Okay. All right,
discussion.
Discussion.
right, we're under discussion, water and sewer study, Gary Higgins.
Gary, water and sewer study.
All right, good evening, everyone. I believe you just received our report for the annual water and sewer projection to determine whether you have to increase the rates or not in the upcoming year. If you want to go to page 5, we'll start with the sewer utility. And keep in mind, I'll just give you some general parameters we operated under, which are consistent with the prior year's report. Salaries and wages, based upon the preliminary 14 budget, are anticipated to go up 2% per year in concurrence with the cap, and 5% on other expenses. In the case of the Sewerage Authority, the Musconetcong Sewer Authority, 5%, pension 5%, and any other charges. So it's a very conservative estimate on the expense side, and on the revenue side, we keep everything flat based upon the projected 2013. If you see Schedule A1, the bottom left-hand corner, the sewer utility operating fund is expected to end the year with approximately $1.1 million as of the end of next month. If you look out and follow to the right, by 2019, the surplus will maintain itself and actually rise to approximately $1,883,000. One positive note here, all the proposed sewer projects over the term of 14 to 19 are proposed, as usual, to be fully funded, all right? So you're incurring no debt at this time, no new debt. And if you look to page 7, which is your current detail of principal bonds and loans, all debt in the sewer utility will be paid off by the year 2018. So the sewer utility is in a very robust, wholesome situation. You'll have no debt by 2018. There's no need to increase rates, and you're fully funding every expected or anticipated capital project. So it's a good thing. With respect to the Sewer Utility Assessment Trust Fund, if you turn to page 11, as you know, we did a refunding bond issue because we had the, I guess, balloon payment of the wastewater loans in 2013. And a couple years ago, we anticipated this. We did the refunding, And you can see that the Sewer Assessment Trust Fund will also have a substantial cash balance available going out to 2019, even with the refunding. So overall, the Assessment Trust Fund and the Operating Fund are wholesome. The Capital Fund will incur no more debt unless something unanticipated happens, so there's no need for a rate increase in the near future for the sewer utility and the sewer users. Does anybody have any questions on sewer?
That's good news.
Good news. Page 12, this is the water utility projection with the anticipated 213 versus going 2014 and 19 projected. Once again, the same scenario with the assumptions, 2% on salaries, 5% on all the other expenditures. In this case, though, we do not fully fund, and we haven't in the past, we do not fully fund the capital projects. We just don't have that kind of surplus. We're in a bond anticipation mode for the limit pursuant to the local bond law of 10 years, with all the capital projects intended to be paid down with temporary financing over a 10-year period. So that's really not a bad thing either. You're not pushing out debt 20, 30 years. You're looking at all your current projects, and they're being paid down. Under the current scenario, at the end of 13, you're about $382,000 in surplus. At 14, a little over 400,000. 15, 330, then 135 and 16. Keep in mind, our revenues are flat here. So as a minimum, if everything stayed constant, there would be no need for any sort of increase until 2017 in a water utility.
John? Gary, does this take into account the possibility of taking over Morris Chase water system?
No, it doesn't. So.
Ray, what expenses are we likely to incur if we were to take over Morris Chase, other than the chemicals which we'd have to put into the system if we were able to run it with the normal employees that we have currently,
Just typically chemicals and electric.
which are de minimis in terms of the revenue that we'd see?
Yes.
So if this doesn't include Morris Chase, then we're likely to see a different analysis once those numbers are put in, Gary?
Once, we're doing our due diligence right now with Sean on the contracts, et cetera. We're going to be contacting the individuals in charge of that billing system now to get the information, and hopefully we'll give you a report back in early 14. But obviously, the township is not in a position to accept anything that would be negative to the current operation. So hopefully anything we receive, if we do accept it, be positive, and then possibly push out any projected rate increase to some other year beyond 17.
I would imagine, based upon the number of units that have come online since we looked at it last, that it's probably in a positive situation right now.
As long as we get over 200, because we
I
got
think we're right
400.
at about 200.
Yeah, so we're just about at the 50% mark now, where Steve Ratner had done the initial analysis, Gary, I think you remember.
Yes.
And we figured that was where we could start making break-even profit.
Right.
We would run in the red.
So we will continue to work on that, but obviously, the ratepayers would not see any impact in the current scenario until 2017 with respect to the water utility.
Wonderful.
So this is all good news, great news for the ratepayers in the township on both the water and the sewer utility.
Gary, I guess also to you, Mayor, have we looked at maybe increasing the rates slightly now in anticipation for that big deficit that's coming in 18?
I don't believe that that's something that we should look at right now. We're in a very positive cash flow situation, although I do see in 17 it's a number which is going in the opposite direction. I think it's something which needs to be looked at probably 2 years out from now.
I mean, because 18, we're going to be negative $500,000.
That's assuming that all other things remain the same, and I'm not sure that ultimately all other things will remain the same. I think it's too early to start looking at, and I don't think those numbers are so substantial that it would result in a major increase in terms of our water rates, although I don't have those numbers.
But to your question, I mean, keep in mind one thing, we're assuming everything's going up 5%, all right, which I think is very conservative on the expense side. And what we can do, we can give you an overlay as a separate schedule in the near future, giving you a 1 or 2% increase to show you what would be necessary to keep you out of the red in those years. And we could do that as addendum, it's not a big deal, so I would do that for you.
Yeah,
I just think it's too early right now, given that we're looking at 2017 before we'd see any increase, to start looking at an increase now to smooth over the bell curve. so to
right,
speak.
because I mean, I'd be more inclined to start a very small increase now instead of, and what would be that anticipated increase anyway? Say we were to try to address 17, 18, are we looking at a
I mean,
10% increase?
If you did a 5% increase on the 1,507,000, that'd be 75,000 a year. All right, so just taking 75,000 out for 3 years is 2.25. That would put that 135 at the end up $225,000, and I'm just rounding this stuff out. But you'd be up about 360,000, so you'd probably be good. Be good. But keep in mind, I think we're very conservative on all the expenses, assuming these increases. So, I mean, that would be,
I think it's something we need to look at next year and the following year to see where we're at in terms of how the numbers come in.
and keep in mind, even if you look at the unexpended balance of appropriation reserves, this is how conservative this is. That 33,988 that we anticipate, we have nothing going forward. I mean, this is the most conservative model we can give you. We assume on the expense side, things are going up, and on the revenue side, everything's flat. You've always lapsed appropriation reserves. So even if you continue out at 33,000 for 3 more years, that gives you another 100,000. That would almost pull you out of the 2017 hole. So, I mean, this is giving you a real good look, and I think the only outcome could be positive on top of this, really.
That's good to hear.
I think, Eric, what we also have to look at is that we're going to look at Morris Chase.
Yes.
And that'll be sometime, my anticipation is late 14, maybe sometime to 2015. We've got Marveland Farms that is going to hopefully start producing and bringing some new customers online. Sim-off property also. So we're going to start increasing the customer base, which then is going to bring in more revenue, which is obviously...
With minimal expense associated.
Because they're donated systems.
Right.
So-
I
so
mean,
we
I
get-
think this is a very conservative model, and I think everything can only go positive with respect to the bottom line outcome here.
I agree.
If I saw a 2-year trend where we were in the negative in 2 years, I think we'd start to need to take a look at what Alex is talking about. But we have enough time to see the way that everything trends next year and the year after to start making determinations as to how to smooth out that bell curve, if we need to.
If we need to.
If we need to. And I agree with Gary that this is a conservative model. We may be in a much better position than what's shown here on the paperwork. Yeah, I'm happy that our sewer utility is we're in as good a position as that we can be in, and our water is out to 2017 before we really have to start looking at what we're gonna do in terms of rates.
That's just a might be.
What's that?
Anticipate having a couple months if things come to fruition.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions further on this?
Any further discussion, any questions?
Just so you're aware, I want to give you a total picture of where we're at. Because I sat with the, with all of the departments and all of the different organizations that we fund, whether it be fire or rescue, we're pretty much looking at a flat budget this year, with the hope that in the next 2 years, we're gonna start on the municipal side having decreases in taxes. Because of the conservative nature that this council has taken over the last 10 years, we're in very good shape. And so we're looking, although, people's taxes are still gonna go up because the school board sees a 2% every year, on the municipal side, we're looking at a trend where we can start decreasing for the amount of services that we provide. So I'm very happy about that financially. We're in great shape. And in speaking to other people who are similarly situated to us, we're in the best shape that I've heard so far in terms of where we're going financially. So kudos to everybody who sits up here.
That's certainly great news.
We learned all this in Atlantic City last week.
State of the holiday.
No. You never let
That's
it
for
go.
I like
I don't
that.
think there
They're
is
on
a-
the Express.
I don't think there is a holiday anymore.
There's no more, they got rid of it.
Maybe down the fall.
Maybe in Ventnor.
Is that it, Gary?
That's it for me, unless there's questions.
Okay, if you have no further questions for Gary, I'm sure he wants to get out of here.
Gary,
Mayor?
just let me say that the information which you have provided is great for the town. And as always, we appreciate your guidance and your stewardship through our financial obligations. So thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to report good information, because a lot of time it's not. Sometimes I get my car etched up outside, that's why I got that vanity plates, I got rid of them. So I don't think anybody's etching my car up tonight, so that's kind of good.
Tomorrow.
So, tomorrow, yeah.
Mr. Perkins?
Tomorrow, in that other town,
When
down
we get
south.
the bill.
So,
Thank you. Gary, just as a close, I want to say, again, thank you. It's a testament to the way that the administration and the employees are running the water and sewer systems that lets us have some of the lowest rates in the state of New Jersey, not just against private purveyors, but also municipals. So, we are offering the residents of Mount Olive, in my humble opinion, a very reasonable rate for the service that they're getting. And we thank you very much for giving us this every year.
absolutely, thank you.
And jumping on what Councilman Perkins said, we have to find a solution for Country Oaks, which has a private water system and is absolutely getting killed, paying 4 times what the average resident in Mount Olive is paying, who is under the purview of this council in terms of rates. So that will be a challenge coming up. And how do we help those 250 homes who are paying $1,200 to $1,300 a year for water?
Wow.
Is it their water, Mayor, that, because when we had them before the council, their main complaint was the sewer.
I think it's both.
I mean,
No.
combined, it's a lot of money.
I thought it was both.
No, water was, if I recall, it was the biggest.
Water's the
$100
cheapest.
something water.
I thought it was both. It's New Jersey American Water that they're complaining
Yeah,
about
well-
now. Is that their sewer system?
Same people,
It's both.
both. Yeah.
It's both.
Basically have it coming and going.
Well,
In
I
and
mean,
out.
the only interesting thing that can happen is up in the West Jersey water system, up behind the lake, that's strictly water. Now, because we're on a statewide tariff, they're paying exactly the same rate. And I would venture to say that we're not getting any complaints out of West Jersey. We're getting the complaints out of Country Oaks because they're combined in with that small package sewage plant.
Yes.
And because of the way that the rate case study is provided to the BPU, it's almost as a standalone system, and they have a couple of those throughout the state. That was the old Applied Water
Yes.
Company.
You're right.
So it would be
It's the
nice
sewer
for us,
rate.
it would be nice if somewhere we could purchase it, but we're talking in the millions of dollars to be able to do that. But I'm open, Mayor, I appreciate you sending that letter off to the BPU. I'd be interested to see if they ever respond to
They
you.
never responded. It's time for a second letter of the BPU.
Yes.
We didn't hear from you. Our people are still suffering.
Because interestingly enough, the Board of Public Utilities, under the ratepayer advocate, only gives a private purveyor 10 days to respond. So that response from the private purveyor should have been back to the Board of Public Utilities and back to your office by now.
Never got anything. We're gonna send off a second letter.
Any other questions? Gary, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gary. Nice time.
Thanks a lot. Now you wanna
Job
sit
well
through the
done,
rest of the
Gary.
meeting?
You sure? You can stay.
Larry Junior's coming out from college, and I gotta meet him at a bar.
John's up here. We got him tied in to 7:30, so let's roll, baby.
Sean, you're next.
Two things. I wanted to, I guess I'll invite, based on one of the resolutions, our Fire Marshal Fred Vittorino want to speak about the resolution on the proposed Hackettstown shared service agreement. Fred, come on up. Fred had approached me, I guess, about 3 weeks ago, indicating that Hackettstown was possibly interested in a shared service agreement for their fire marshal services. As you're aware, we already enjoy a shared services arrangement with Chester Township, which has been very beneficial to us. Both Fred and I had gone down to Hackettstown. I'll let Fred elaborate.
What happened to property maintenance?
Yeah.
I could jump on the property maintenance if you like. I went out of turn. I apologize, Mr. Council President. Would you like me to revert to property maintenance, or?
Fred's already standing.
Yeah.
Just go with it.
Second.
I apologize for that. I was
Just-
so
That's right.
excited
It's
about the
always up
shared
to the
service.
president if he wants to change the agenda. isn't
Fred
it?
can speak about property maintenance too. if
Yeah,
he
go
wants.
ahead. I'm sorry.
I was so excited about the shared service agreement, I skipped right over the property.
Fred, how is the maintenance of your property going?
Yes.
Hackettstown has been receptive to this. It looks like we're going to have a very beneficial shared service arrangement with the Township of Mount Olive and Hackettstown to the tune of, it looks like our gross profit would be about $68,000 in the coming year between Chester and Hackettstown. And Fred can speak more to the details, but we're very excited about this, and I want to congratulate Fred. Coming forward with this idea, I think he did an excellent job.
Yeah, like Sean said, we sent the letter. It's really a no-win, no-loss situation for Paxtown. They're getting the services for free, plus we're kicking back some money to them from the money that we take. And it's the same arrangement that we have with Chester.
With Chester?
Yeah, we just modeled that contract.
Fred, will we need to hire any additional employees?
This year, we're gonna try to do with what we have. That may be a little hard to do. It's hard to tell. I haven't been able to look at their inspections yet. They're waiting until they adopt it before they let me in. But we're going on,
Mayor?
talking to the, yes.
We're actually going to be bringing on a part-time secretarial person, irrespective of whether or not we take on Hackettstown, to help Fred's department with the billing aspect. One of the things that we found when we took on Chester was that Fred did not have the appropriate help to stay on top of the collection of the revenues. So this will actually, bringing on Hackettstown, will help in terms of defray the cost of bringing on that part-time individual. It's actually going to be a full-time hire that's included in the budget. The time that isn't used, how much do we allocate towards Fred's department?
10 hours and 25 hours overall.
Oh, 25 hours overall,
Yeah,
so it's a
part-time,
part-time?
only 10 hours
It's a
to
part-time
25.
individual, 10 hours towards Fred's department, 15 hours floating around the building to help with other aspects where we have shortfalls.
Animal
So,
collection.
animal collection. Yeah, it'll be a revenue-producing position overall. We expect to be able to pay for that position out of the additional revenues that we take in.
Are there any benefits attached to that position?
No,
No. Okay.
it's part-time.
And in the unlikely event that we need to hire another inspector, how would that change the positive cash flow aspect of taking on Hackettstown?
It would be a part-time inspector. We have discussed that with Fred in terms of perhaps for future use, and it would decrease the amount of additional revenue that we would take in, but we would still be in a positive cash flow as a result of taking on Hackettstown. So there is it's really a no-lose situation for Mount Olive, and we're hopeful that through a realigning of employees in Fred's department, that we will be able to handle the workload with the same level of staffing, albeit the part-time secretarial help, but the same number of inspectors that we currently have.
Cool.
Chasing the money was a huge job.
Yeah.
Took me out of the field. So when we had Joanne, we called her from the health department, and she's done a really good job chasing the money so far.
Joanne is moving over to the construction department, so we're gonna put somebody else in the position. Joanne has done a fantastic job in terms of collecting the revenues that Fred just didn't have the time to collect. It's one thing to be able to do the work, it's another thing to bring in the money. And the synergy between what Joanne was doing and what Fred and his employees were doing was great when it worked. So we're gonna continue that.
Any questions of Fred? Councilman? Thank you, Fred.
Have a good holiday.
Good job, Fred.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Would you like me to actually follow the agenda this time?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. President. I apologize for that erroneous detour down the wrong path there.
It's been a rocky start.
Starting to think about Thanksgiving. The property maintenance ordinance follow-up, as per Councilman Roman's request from the last session, I provided council with a rundown of every resolution, every property that we had put on this year for property maintenance. And I provided council with a backup memo you'll find in your packet. And as you'll see, the overwhelming majority of these properties that were forwarded to us from the zoning officer are either vacant, abandoned, finance owned, or they're sheriff's sale listing. In one case, they're a property maintenance company. We couldn't verify, but if a property maintenance company is maintaining it, the assumption is it's already bank owned. So it's there's no residents being hurt by following this avenue of property maintenance. Matter of fact, I confirmed with Scott Van Ness again yesterday, and he insisted that his policy has been, as I related last meeting, if there's an owner-occupied house, he's been giving them the Morris County Community Development material and really trying to help people along instead of, becoming punitive.
Excellent.
Any questions of Sean? Property maintenance? Sean, you want to bring Tim up next?
Do you want that now, Mr. President, or do you want that in the,
Yeah, let's
after the minutes?
do
Okay.
it now
Tim, you
so
wanna come
he...
up? Just to set the table, Tim had approached Sherry and I late Friday, early Monday. We have a well, actually, this goes back about 2 weeks. It was an unknown problem down at the Flanders Sewer Plant, which required the hiring of a vendor. The contents of one of the large tanks, and I don't need to be descriptive here, but it had to be transferred to a temporary storage facility. They actually hired somebody, I believe, to dive into the facility and determine what the problem is. So we found out what the problem is, and we certainly have an emergency on our hands. I'll let Tim elaborate as to the mechanics of it, but in a nutshell, we have a problem at our sewage treatment plant.
Yes, the problem's, it's in the clarification tank. It's a 300,000 gallon tank where the sewage begins its journey through our treatment plant. Basically, the tank has got rakes on the bottom and skimmers on the top. It's almost like a propeller underneath the fluids and on top. The lower rakes are to remove the heavier sludges at the bottom of the tank to move them through the processing procedure. Tank was installed back in the early 80s, so the tank is a good 30 years old, and we really have had no problems with it. Over time, the rakes on the bottom have broken off. They were held in place by being welded and also with guy wires. The guy wires, as they snapped, they wrapped around the torque motor that spins the rakes. So currently, we've got a situation with the rakes on the bottom that push the sludge out are broken, and they need to be fabricated and repaired. And the scum skimmer on the surface of the tank also needs repairs to it. The tank is vital to our operations. We cannot stop processing to get the repairs done. This company, it's GMH Associates of America, Inc. Came in, we brought them in early on to actually drain the tank out, to do the diving, to investigate what our problems were, because it was unclear to us what was going on down underneath the surface. They've pretty much taken care of business for us in a great way, and they've given us a price on getting the repairs done. If this tank goes down, we got some serious problems. Sewage will not come into the plant. It will not be processed. This is an emergency, and this has to get done ASAP.
Is it not being done?
Questions? Alex?
What kind of turnaround time are we looking at?
They're ready to go. They still got the bypass hooked up. We just got this information from them on Thursday. They drained the tank down. We have an older tank on site that they managed to keep our process going for a limited time while they're doing the investigation. They are calling me daily, wanting to get down there and get this work done. So I would guess within 2-3 days, barring any other problems, they should have this done.
And how long would it take?
2 or 3 days.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah. We've got to drain the tank back down. The tank is back in operation because the holding tank that we're using as a backup tank is a smaller tank. We can get by on that on a daily basis, but not long term.
Right, normal flow.
Yes.
Mr. Canning?
Yeah, Mr. President, we had spoken about this yesterday morning, Timmy, and the reason why we waited till tonight's council is that the cost of this is significant. We knew we had a couple days leeway. We don't have a real long time. We have enough to bring this before council.
Yes.
The concern on this was to bring it before council. It's about a $51,000 repair in the utility. It has to be done, but obviously it's over our bid threshold. There's certain things that kick in at this level of a cost, including declaring of emergency internally, as well as the purchasing agent. I have to declare an emergency with DCA. It's all bureaucracy, but I thought it was important enough to have this council give a resolution on the record tonight that we support this emergency. Tomorrow morning, they can get started. I believe
Yes.
they are ready to go. We felt that we could wait the 36 hours to make sure we brought it to the board.
Yes, we're operation. There has been no sewer issues, there's been no spills, no overflows, everything's getting processed, so everything is running as it should be. It just has to be addressed as soon as possible.
On the rakes with the guide wire, are they they're fabricating those now, or they're gonna fabricate them after they pull them out?
But after they pull them out, I would assume. I didn't talk to them about that. I saw the rakes. I've got pictures of the rakes, which I'll pass down to you, Mr. Perkins, to take a look at. It's basically a tangled mess underneath the surface. I mean, they're broken in many pieces. There's really not anything left of the rakes underneath, and that's kind of how we noticed we had a problem.
Is that
You know,
guide
the-
wire a necessity with these, or is there a different material or something they can use?
I'm not sure what they're going to do as a refabrication, because obviously they're not buying anything off the shelf. This is something they're going to build on site and install it as they go along. Also with the scum rake on top, they're rebuilding those.
Rebuilding that too?
Yeah, so whether they're using guy wires again or not, I don't know until I talk to them.
Just amazing, you know, how windows break.
Wrapped right around it.
Right around the spindle.
Yep.
Yeah. Came out good. Did you take it from your phone?
On the waterfall.
We're gonna need a motion to add that resolution to the agenda.
I'll make
It's
a
an
motion.
emergency problem.
I'll make a
Need a
motion.
motion?
Second.
Second.
Roll call?
Do that during public. Do that during public portion, John.
The motion doesn't need, I don't need to do roll call.
We're in
We're in the workshop.
I don't think you even need a motion. As council president, you can add anything you want to the agenda by way of resolution.
So then we voted, and then we vote on it in
Vote on it.
Vote on
public.
it, public.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions on the resolution?
Resolution
Discussion?
numbers on here, Alex?
Mr. Roman?
Sean, on the resolution for telecom contracting, what exactly are they doing for us?
Telecoms are every year vendor. They're the ones handle the entire phone system for the township. We know him better as Roy. He works closely with Scott Gaskell. He handles our entire telecom, not just here, all of our facilities.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Do we have a draft of the resolution already put together?
Perkins?
For the emergency, no, we do not. No, it came so late in the day yesterday, we were not able to get it on the
Can
agenda.
you just draft,
I can
can you handwrite one in,
Sure.
Jeff, if you wouldn't mind?
By the way, that's very Dorsey-esque, to be able to just do it on the fly.
Dorsey, yes.
Dorsey could do a 30-page resolution on the fly.
Expect the same from you.
Any other questions on the other resolutions? We'll go to ordinances. Any discussion on the ordinance, any questions? Okay, we're up to old business. Any old business? Any new business? Open to the public, anyone from the public wish to be heard? If not, I'll close it to the public. Motion to adjourn to the public meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Carry those motions.
Right. Would you read the Open Public Meetings Act?
According to the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been given to the Daily Record. Notice has been posted in the Municipal Building, 204 Flanders Drakestown Road, Bud Lake, New Jersey, and notices were sent to those requesting the same.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Ferrante. Mr.
Excused.
Mr. Nacastro.
Here.
Mr. Perkins.
Here.
Mr. Roman.
Here.
Mr. Stazak.
Here.
Mr. Mania.
Here,
Mrs. Laybow.
excused.
There's no excuse for this.
Okay, we have the approval of minutes of previous meetings. Mr. Perkins, would you do that, please?
Yes, Mr. Vice President, I move for the approval of the previous minutes of November 12, 2013 workshop and public meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Opposed?
Roll call.
Roll call, sorry.
Mr. Nacastro.
Yes.
Mr. Perkins.
Yes.
Mr. Roman.
Yes.
Mr. Stazak.
Yes.
Mr. Mania.
Yes. We have 29 letters of correspondence. Any discussion? Hearing none, we're up to ordinances for public hearing. Ordinance number 29-213. Mr. Nacastro?
Nope.
Open it to the public.
Go to the paper,
Okay.
Vice President. You have the cheat sheet in the back.
This is for
It'd be public.
hearing,
Second reading.
right here.
I opened a hearing to the public on ordinance number 29-2013, entitled An Ordinance of the Township of Mount Olive and the County of Morris, State of New Jersey, providing for a fee assessment for costs incurred by the Township of Mount Olive in enforcement and performance of property maintenance in accordance with the Property Maintenance Code of the Township of Mount Olive, to be incorporated into Chapter 185 of the Mount Olive Township Code.
Joe.
Mr. Nacastro.
Yeah, and Mr. Nacastro will say he'll move for adoption. I mean,
Anybody from
Yes.
the public?
he'll move for adoption of ordinance number.
Would you move that, Mr. Nacastro, please?
Yes, I move for final adoption and, for adoption and final passage of ordinance number 29-2013.
Is there a second?
Second.
You guys are killing me.
Any discussion?
Okay.
Roll call.
Okay, Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mr. Perkins?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mr. Stazak?
Yes.
Mr. Mania?
Yes.
One more thing to read.
Yes.
I declare ordinance number 29-213 is passed on second reading. I hereby direct the clerk to forward a copy of the same to the mayor, publish the notice of adoption as required by law. We have ordinance number 30-213 will be continued to our meeting on December 10th. We're up to ordinances for first reading. The next item on the agenda for first reading is ordinance number 31-2013, entitled An Ordinance of the Township of the Council of Township of Mount Olive amending ordinance number 36-2012, which established salaries for the mayor, council, department heads, supervisory personnel, and employees of the township clerk's office. Mr. Roman, would you,
I move that ordinance number 31-2013 be introduced by title and passed on first reading, and that a meeting be held on December 10th, 2013, at 7 p.m. at the Municipal Building, 204 Flanders Drakestown Road, Bud Lake, New Jersey, for a public hearing, consideration of second reading, and the passage of said ordinance, and that the clerk be directed to publish, post, and make available said ordinance in accordance with the requirements of law.
Second.
any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mr. Perkins?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mr. Stazak?
Yes.
Mr. Mania?
Yes. Okay, we're up to consent resolutions 1 through 10.
We should have an 11.
Should have an 11.
11, okay, we have another one here.
Read it into the record.
Probably should read it.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Okay. Do you want to pass 1 through 10 first,
Yes,
and then we'll do that one separately.
okay. We have 1 through 10, we have 1 through 11. So let's discuss the 1 through 10. Is there any resolution you want to put on non-consent?
Okay, motion.
Now we gotta move 1 through 10 first, and then we'll do 11. So I'll move.
So we got,
Mr.
ready to move it?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jim.
Go ahead,
Mr.
Jim.
Stazak, would you make a motion, 1 through 10?
Thank you, Mr. President. I move consent resolutions 1 through 10 for approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mr. Perkins?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mr. Stazak?
Yes.
Mr. Mania?
Yes. Okay, the 11th one is resolution, Township Council of Mount Olive Township authorizing an emergency, pardon? Emergency award, a contract for repair and the Flanders Sewer Plant to GMH Association of America. Whereas the township has incurred an emergency need and declared an emergency need. Why don't you read? You wrote it. I can't.
It's a resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Mount Olive authorizing the emergency award of a contract for repairs to the Flanders Sewer Plant to GMH Associates of America. Whereas the Township has declared an emergency need to award a contract for emergency repairs to the Flanders Sewer Plant in the approximate amount of $51,000, and whereas due to the emergency nature of the repairs, the award of the contract must be made outside of the usual bidding procedures, now therefore be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Mount Olive in the County of Morris, State of New Jersey, that it does hereby approve the emergency award of a contract to GMH Associates of America for emergency repairs to the Flanders Sewer Plant.
Thank you.
Well done, Jeff.
Yes.
I make a motion to approve?
Second.
Second, Jim Stazak, second. Roll call, please. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mr. Perkins?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mr. Stazak?
Yes.
Mr. Mania?
Yes.
J.D. Junior, very good, very good.
It's large shoes to fill.
That's all right, you did a good job.
Open the meeting to the public on consent resolutions. Anyone from the public wish to be heard? If not, I'll close it to the public.
We're done. Next
Council
page.
comments on consent resolutions.
Next page.
Next page.
We're doing,
You're into
Okay,
motions.
consent motions. Mr. Roman, would you do that, please?
I move for approval of the bill list, the approval of a peddler's permit for Mr. Jeff Fieldstein, and the appointment of Michelle Ombrick as court administrator, term to expire 12/31/20. Is that correct?
Is there a second?
That's
Oh.
correct.
Yes, that's correct.
That's correct, 20.
That's
Second.
correct.
Any discussion?
That's correct.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mr. Perkins?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mr. Stazak?
Yes.
Mr. Mania?
Yes.
Pretty long term.
Administrative reports. Mr. Canning?
2-year term.
I have several, actually. Thanks for recognizing me, though, John.
Sorry, Mayor. I do apologize.
That's okay. Last night, the freeholders were here. Most of council was here as well, either during the day or at night, and it was a very successful, I think Mount Olive came out of it looking pretty good. So I thank everyone for spending the time to represent Mount Olive while the freeholders were here. I have a couple things coming up. Tomorrow night, we have the Hanukkah menorah lighting celebration. It starts at 7 o'clock. Originally, it was supposed to be outside. I have a feeling that we're going to end up being inside at the senior center based upon the weather reports that I've seen, although, one never can totally believe the weather reports. But in the Jewish tradition, rain is supposed to be good luck, so tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. Christmas tree lighting, Friday, December 6th. hopefully that will be outside as well. It doesn't move as well inside as the menorah lighting. And I know that we've had significant contributions from vendors in town in terms of providing equipment for the Christmas tree lighting going forward, lights, et cetera. Kiwanis is having breakfast with Santa Saturday, December 7th at the Bud Lake Firehouse. That's from 9 to 11:30 a.m. 50% of the proceeds will be donated to Mount Playmore. So, a lot of good things coming up during the holiday seasons. And finally, from my report, I wanted to wish everybody sitting up here, everybody sitting in the audience, and to all the residents of Mount Olive, very happy and safe Thanksgiving holiday.
Thank you, Mayor. Sean, anything?
Yeah, just three things. Two of them are grants related. One last week at the New Jersey League of Municipalities, I had the honor of accepting a $10,000 reward from Sustainable New Jersey on behalf of Mount Olive Township. So we're going to start getting to work on that. And as council will recall, that has to do with our GPS tracking of conservation easements going back through the years and just preserving those. Mainly has to do with our trail system, but it's it's money that'll be well spent and well received. The second, the CDBG, the Morris County Community Development Block Grant, has just been announced. Our intent on this is to apply by January 10th. I intend on bringing to council, hopefully on December 10th, a proposal for a mini trans system in the township, and that mini trans would be, we're going to seek that the County of Morris through HUD and through the federal agencies purchase a 21-passenger ADA compliant bus. So as we know, we have a senior bus which is scope is just strictly to the seniors. What we're looking to do is expand that scope and really target what CDBG considers a area of town that is eligible for this grant. It has to do with mainly our Bud Lake section, some of our apartments. And our focus is going to be trying to, a lot of our residents in some of the developments are single car families. So our scope and our goal on this is to try to get some of these residents to employment, which is ITC, Netcong, ITC North, as well as the Hackettstown BID, the Business Improvement District. So we're gonna approach the county with this model. We think it's a winner, and if we were to be awarded this, the maximum on the grant is $50,000. We would look to match with in-kind or the balance probably January 1st of 2015. So December 10th, I'll bring some more information for you on that, but I think it's a winner for Mount Olive.
So we get ticked.
And last but not least, last week again at the New Jersey League of Municipalities, the New Jersey Recreation and Parks Association had requested myself and two other administrators to speak on data analysis and the case study, and it was very well attended. It was to the entire state recreation directors and parks directors, was on our iWorks and our data analysis in our Public Buildings and Grounds Department. So Mount Olive was used as as basically the example of how to use data analysis, how to track it through iWorks, how to turn it around, and how to staff appropriately. And it was extremely well received. The towns from Neptune to Cape May were asking about our iWorks system, how we do things. So it was very proud to show that Mount Olive is among the leaders in how we do things. And it was well received. That's all I have.
Joe and I attended as well.
I had to wake them up at the end.
We sat next to the lady whose phone kept going off during
Thank you, Mr. Canning. Any old business? Any new business? Legal matters.
Just one item tonight. In December 2011, the township received an Oprah request seeking various papers filed with the Netcong Municipal Court and quote-unquote letters between judges. The township responded to the request, indicating that responsive records would be maintained by the courts and not by the township. The requester ended up filing a denial of access complaint with the Government Records Council. In August, the Government Records Council denied that request. The requester filed a motion for reconsideration, which was just again denied by the GRC last week. So this should effectively conclude the matter unless the requester files an appeal with the Appellate Division within 45 days.
That's it, Jeff. Thank you. Council reports. Myself, Planning Board, I wasn't eligible to vote on the application at the last meeting, so I didn't have to attend. I didn't attend the senior citizen.
It was a D variance involving, it was a Dorland property? Is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
Yeah, which was ultimately approved unanimously. It's a piece
I
of
heard.
property that borders Hackettstown, at the intersection of Route 46 and the road that parallels. He's looking to put in a multi-use residential building, 6 units, I think,
Yes,
and ultimately it was approved.
right. Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. I was here, so.
Open Space Committee, Mr. DeCastro.
Nothing to report on open space or safety.
Safety Committee,
Nothing.
nothing. Mr. Perkins, Board of Health.
Yes, Mr. Vice President, we had our monthly meeting last month. Mrs. Joanne Lepre, the current board secretary, handed in her resignation. She's resigning as the board secretary effective December 31st. We will have a resolution on this month appointing Ms. Tomasello as the permanent secretary to the board, and may look in the future to give her an assistant such as we just did. So that'll be moving forward. Nothing on the legislative, nothing economic,
Economic Development Committee,
nothing.
nothing. Mr. Roman, Recreation.
This Friday, November 29th, would be the second annual Turkey Bowl flag football fundraiser organized by the Mount Olive Junior Water Football Association. The event is to raise funds for families of the association affected by hardships, usually medical. I plan to participate, so if anybody wants to hit me, that is your legal opportunity to do so.
We get that every Monday and Friday night.
Get him early, hit him off.
early offer?
And for Board of Ed, I have nothing.
Okay. Mr. Stazak, MOTV.
Nothing this evening.
Okay, boy, moving along rather nicely.
I hope so, let's go.
Can I jump in for a second, John?
Sure.
There was something that I forgot. The Mount Olive Clergy Association has been working diligently to provide holiday assistance for the more needy families in Mount Olive. They have done a fantastic job. Last night I attended Thanksgiving mass gathering of multi-denominational religious organizations. I can tell you that 2 weeks ago I attended the Bud Lake Chapel gathering, and they raised $3,000 to provide food vouchers or gift certificates that could be used for food or other things for needy families in Mount Olive. So I just want to applaud the efforts of our clergy and our congregations in town in terms of filling a need that the government obviously does not provide here in Mount Olive. They've done a fantastic job this year, and I know that they're very excited in terms of continued participation in what we do here in Mount Olive. They've stepped in and organized our food bank effort as well.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yes.
Up to the public portion. Anybody from the public wish to be heard? If not, I'll close it to the public. Council comments. Mr. DeCastro.
Nope, just wish everyone a happy holiday coming up. Enjoy yourself.
Mr. Perkins.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Again, wish everybody a happy, healthy Hanukkah, as well as Thanksgiving. Looking forward to the menorah lighting tomorrow evening, hopefully outside. The storm blows by quickly enough, and we can stand out there. And looking forward to the Christmas tree lighting with the surprise visit by Santa Claus.
Oh, okay. We have any idea who that might be?
I have a very good source. I know
Okay.
who that, but I'm bound, not to, they will kill
Okay.
me.
Santa.
It is Santa.
It's Santa, that's right.
Whoever it is, I hope that they have a big belly and can fit that outfit appropriately.
Oh, boy.
What a pal.
Oh, boy. Mr. Roman.
I just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving and a great weekend.
Mr. Stazak.
Again, happy holidays, happy and safe holiday season.
Thank you. I too wish everybody happy Hanukkah, happy Thanksgiving, and if you're traveling, please be careful. The weather is not going to be conducive to travel. May God bless you all. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
All right,
Thank you, gentlemen.
not bad.